Hi, I'm Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. If you remember on a previous video, I made Danish dough in a hurry. And you can use that as the basic Danish dough for any recipe that does use a Danish dough. And today we're going to be making raspberry spiral Danish with that dough. And before we get started, I want to show you what we're going to be doing in the filling area. So I've decided to fill my Danish and make individual little spirals, and I'll show you how to form them in a little while. But we're going to put a cinnamon, sugar, cardamom filling, and that is half a cup of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a pinch, a nice healthy pinch of ground cardamom. And if you remember, I put cardamom right in our Danish dough. And if you remember, I said cardamom is related to the ginger family. Gives a little warmth, little floral tone to whatever you put it in. So I'm going to mix that up really well. And that's going to be our filling. And then we're going to top each little raspberry spiral with some raspberry preserves. Any type you want. You don't like raspberry? Use a different type. You don't like seeds? Use seedless. Anything you want. And we're going to put those on the side. And I'm also going to get an egg wash ready. So this is 1 whole egg and a teaspoon of milk. And if you don't want to use milk, you can use water. And I'm just going to mix that up. And now we're ready to roll out our dough. All right, so I took my Danish dough out of the refrigerator. And it's risen a little bit. It sort of looks like a little pillow. And that happens because there's yeast in it, and that's fine. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. So we're going to flour our surface, our work surface, really well. These make 12 to 14 individual Danish. You can make them as big or as little as you want. I like them big. And we're going to roll this rectangle out to approximately 18 by 18 inches. And remember, you got butter in here, so go slow, go easy. And you can see there's carbon dioxide in there too from the yeast undergoing fermentation. So be careful. You may end up with a little air pocket. And if you see a little butter, we're going to cover it with flour because we don't want to lose that butter. That butter provides flakiness, and that's what we love about Danish dough. So we have a good long piece. Now we're going to go, I want to go square today. So 18 by 18. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Whatever it is, just make sure it's a big old square. And if you remember my trick, roll to one side, roll down the middle, and then roll on the other side, and it will always square it off. And I stuck a little bit, so I'm going to add a little more flour there. Again, we can brush this flour off if we have too much. And the dough smells beautiful. You can actually see the cardamom throughout, and you can see chunks of butter. That's flakiness. So we are square right now, but we are nowhere near 18 inches. So this is 18 inches. So we're about 15 by 12. So we got a little ways to go. So you're going to work your arms and your abs, and you're going to keep rolling it out. Roll very slowly. Notice I'm rolling carefully, and I'm making sure I'm not sticking. If you see that it's going into a weird shape, just gently stretch it. You don't want to take this dough and re-scrunch it and form it into a ball again, because remember, there's layers in here. We did those folds in that previous video for our basic Danish dough. So we don't want to mess with those layers. Don't mess with the layers, because then you won't have that flaky pastry. Okay, let's take another. We're getting more rectangle, aren't we? I did not mean to get a rectangle, so I'm going to go as square this way. I'm at 18 lengthwise. Now I have to go widthwise. Okay, and it's almost as big as my my work surface, and that's fine. Keep going. Be gentle with it, but sort of show it what's what. All right, I'm getting more rectangular. Actually, I'm getting more square though. Now I'm at 18, almost a little bit more, and about 15. So I'm going to see if I can go a little bit more. You may end up about 1/8 of an inch thick, between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick, and that's fine. I'm not going to go off my board. I will not go off my board, my marble slab. So I'll go as far as I can go. And the longer you roll it, the bigger your square, the more, the bigger your Danish will be. You can even make like a cinnamon roll with this, cinnamon style roll, although it would be made out of Danish dough. You could do that as well. And skip the raspberry jam part. But I like the raspberry jam. So it's 18, and we are at 17. Oh my goodness, 1 more inch. I think I can do 1 more inch. Okay, so we're just about there. Okay, big square. And you just want to make sure that everybody's moving. All your edges are moving, and you want to make sure that you keep them squared off. All right, and there's a reason for that. So I got my egg wash that I made before. I'm just going to get pastry brush, and I'm actually going to egg wash the whole thing. Okay, the whole surface, but we're only going to fill half. And I'll show you how to form these. They're so much fun to form. This is my favorite part, is forming them. You could even leave these instead of cutting them into single Danish and leave it as one big coil and actually just bring it into a circle and have almost like a coffee cake. That would be good too. And the reason why I'm egg washing is because I want my cinnamon sugar cardamom filling to stick. And we want all bits of it to stick everywhere. All right, so I think I've got it covered all the way around. All right, now I got my cinnamon, and I'm only going to do halfway. So I'm going to do this half. Just choose a half. It doesn't matter where. And you're just going to sugar it. Sugar, sugar, sugar it. Just pick a half. I sort of put it down the middle. All right. Make sure you get all areas. You don't want any part of a half uncovered. You want it all covered. And then we're going to sort of spread it out with our hands. So I take my fingers and just sort of sprinkle it. Or spread it, I should say. Spread it all around. All right, now at this point, I'm going to take the egg washed surface that's not covered, and I'm going to bring it over. And this can be difficult sometimes, so you're just going to count 1, 2, 3, and you're going to bring it over. And there it goes. All right, make sure ends to ends match. Push it down just a little. You can even take your rolling pin and make sure it adheres. Okay? You don't want it to stick. And then I take a pizza wheel, and I have 2 sheet pans covered in parchment. And I'm just going to cut the rough pieces off. All right. You can bake those off later. And I'm going to cut 1/4 inch sort of slices down, all right? And just keep cutting them. Roll them very, very carefully. I would rather you use a pizza wheel than a knife because it's just a lot easier. The knife may actually cut the dough. And each time you cut, you're going to get this little sandwich of cinnamon, sugar, and cardamom. And what you're going to do is one hand is going to go one way and twist, and the other hand is going to go the other way. So watch. Twist, twist. I'm going to move this over. Whoop. Twist, twist. Until you see these little spirals. Put it down on your work surface and start coiling it around itself. See what I'm doing? Coiling it around itself. And then put that little end underneath. and then bring it on over to your parchment covered sheet pan. Okay? And just leave it. Now, if you want to make them really big, let's do some big ones too. So these are smaller. You can actually cut the other way. So you can cut this way on your square. Watch. So this is the end piece. I'm just doing this to square it off. So that's, and we're just going to cut a 1/4 inch piece. And this is going to make a big one. A big one. We're going to take that. We're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to coil, or twist, I should say. So twist with one hand going to the right, your other hand going to the left until you can't twist anymore. All right, keep going. And then you're just going to coil it. But you're not going to push it into each other. You're just going to coil it lightly around. All right. And then you're going to go underneath. And you're going to put it down. And we have to let these rise because there's yeast in them. So we're going to let them rise for about 30 minutes. So I'm going to continue twisting and twirling, and I'm going to let them rise for 30 minutes. So I'm finishing up my last 3, and I'm twisting and twisting and twisting till I can't twist anymore without breaking the dough, and then I'm going to coil it all the way around like a snake. And you can see I do this because it really highlights those flaky layers of the pastry. That's why it's a perfect, this spiral shape is a perfect thing to show off Danish dough and those flaky layers. Make sure you look at those flaky layers after it comes out of the oven too. So roll them all the way around. One more. And then we're going to fill the center with some raspberry jam, or any jam that you want. It should be a very thick jam, almost a preserve would be the best. I like raspberry. Tastes really good. Okay. So what I do is take about a teaspoon and just put it into the center. Just like that. Not a heaping teaspoon, just sort of a regular old teaspoon. And once I have them filled, I'm going to let them rise in a warm place that's not too warm because I don't want the butter to melt out. And I'm going to let them rise for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to bake them. So I let my raspberry spiral Danish rise for 30 minutes, and I put them in an oven starting at 350 degrees for 10 minutes, and then I put the oven up, left them in the oven for an additional 5 minutes. And give or take a minute or two, depending on your oven, you want them to get nice and golden brown. And you can see they look gorgeous. Now we're going to put a glaze over them, because I think that will just be the topping on the Danish. So I have about a cup of confectioner's sugar and some whole milk. You don't need to use milk. You could use skim milk. You could use water. You could use orange juice, whatever you wanted. But I like milk. I like the way it tastes. Now, when you make a glaze like this, I like mine nice and thick. I like to drizzle it. So I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons of milk. And the reason why I'm actually measuring this out for you, because sometimes it varies. Sometimes you can add too much milk and you'll end up with very thin liquidy glaze, and you don't want that. And sometimes you won't add enough and you'll get like library paste, which was the paste they used to have when I was a kid. So you can see this looks good. And you really want to whisk that up just to get that milk in there. And then you're going to bring your, I wouldn't add any more, this is perfect. So I'm just going to take my whisk, bring the bowl with you or you'll have glaze everywhere. And I'm just going to, look how pretty that looks. Oh my goodness. Oh. And this glaze will firm up. You give it a few minutes, it'll firm up. And when you serve this at your brunch or breakfast, or you just want to bring it into the office to show everybody you made your own Danish in a hurry, you will have offers for money, maybe a marriage proposal or two. I mean, they're gorgeous. So just keep glazing. And I like to make it so that there's like little strips of glaze. It just looks gorgeous. So there you have it. I've had so much fun making these raspberry spiral Danish with you. For more recipes and videos, visit my website, gailsokol.com.